Welcome to Business Agility Now, the podcast powered by Scaled Agile. I'm your host, Adam Mattis. This is the place to get advice, stories, and perspectives to help you work differently and build the future. Thanks for listening and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. So you know what's more stressful than asking a bunch of engineers to come to a podcast and not over-prepare? It's when the technology that we all rely on doesn't work. How's everybody feeling after our hiccups?
Everything sounds good now.
It can only be better from here.
So that's it, right? I mean, no matter how well we prepare, there's always things that come up. And I think we've experienced that this morning, and now we're okay. So we're hanging out today with the team from TecVeris to discuss their product, nVeris. And to dive into this, I want to start with you, Millie. Will you give us a quick intro about who you are, what you do, and how you got to doing what it is that you do?
Absolutely. Thanks for having us here today, Adam, and I'm glad everything's working now. So I'm the co-founder and managing partner of TecVeris. We are a safe gold transformation partner, an Atlassian gold solution partner, and we are a safe platform partner as well. We work with virtually every industry and have since 2011, and we're really excited to be here today. So in terms of what got us started, before TecVeris, I led a number of technology teams, PMOs, largely in the ed tech and ad tech business. I was an early adopter of Agile. And all of that experience led me to dive into the SAFe framework over a decade ago. But before TecVeris, I was really faced with a challenging situation where I was part of a really large, very public layoff and buyout, had to make a lot of really tough layoff decisions as a leader in the organization, just saw a lot of letting people go, then a year and a half rehiring the same people. And it just really got me thinking about how short-sighted a lot of leadership teams can be when it comes to managing their personnel, their processes, their resources, and got me really thinking about how organizations can function better across all levels.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the whole reason that we do what we do. And I think every single one of us that was either a founder of or involved with Scaled Agile in the beginning had a similar origin story, which was there's got to be a better way to treat people. There's got to be a better way to work. And that's what the goal behind all of this is, right? Is we want to create an environment that allows people to build cool stuff. And we want to do it in a way that's respectful. And it's hard right now because if you look at the economy the way that it is, it's just frustrating because no matter how much progress we seem to make, when things get tough, we seem to fall back into these old patterns, and we've got to figure out a way to get out of that, right? Because you're right. I mean, there's a lot of short-sighted things going on right now. There's a lot of organizations that are making cuts to meet the number for the quarter, but then they've kind of lost sight of what their plan is for next year and the people they're going to need to achieve those plans. So we often sell the future for the sake of the quarter, and it's a really hard thing. Millie, I wanted to ask you too. So you guys are based in the Baltimore area, which I know we talked about before. You mentioned EdTech. Did you ever spend any time at Laureate?
Yes, I did. I spent 6 years. It was actually with Sylvan Learning Systems, and at that time, Laureate was part of the family. It was before it had split out. And that was really my first experience working in technology product development. So I really cut my teeth on technology product development with that experience. It was a great experience. That's really cool.
Actually, I worked with them in 2015 to 17. We brought SAFe in with the goal of, at that point, there was, I think, 222 campuses and 86 universities that were in their portfolio. And we had the goal of unifying a tech platform and getting on a cadence where we could plan together. It's just, the point to that is it's interesting how in this community, the paths they do cross.
That's right. They definitely cross. It's a very small world. And, when I think back to that experience and, as I said, sort of cutting my teeth in the technology world, and this was a very long time ago, after that experience, then I moved into advertising technology, literally across the harbor in Baltimore.
Ads.com in the Under Armour headquarters.
That's correct, which was also really fabulous experience. And, but at that time, so Brian and I are married. People haven't figured that out already from the last names. We're not brother and sister. We are married. And so at that time, during that period of time, we were starting a family. And in addition to this sort of growing systems thinking shift that, we started to develop, being a parent of babies, being the mother of babies later on in my experience, it was tough going back into balancing corporate life. And that was, when you ask about what got us started, that was another big driver early on in forming TecVeris and really trying to figure out, this was all very much pre-COVID times, when there wasn't the support for not just myself, but for people who eventually came to work at TecVeris. There just wasn't that support for people who wanted to work and live in a different way. And so when we formed TecVeris, that was a really big part of, not just for our own family, but for other people who work for us. We really wanted to try to solve for that issue and have an environment where people could work and live, work from home if they needed to, travel if they were open to, have flexible schedules. And a lot of our services that when we worked with customers, a lot of our services involve fractional talent. And so we were able and have been able to attract really talented, not just women, but men who need to work in a different way and have more flex in the schedules. When COVID happened and everyone was working from home, and then return to office happened and workplaces became more flexible, that just really just supported our premise that we've always had, that enterprises really needed to think about how people work differently.
Millie, we're going to have a different conversation at a different time. We're later in life, obviously. I mean, later in life to have kids, and we're going to have our first kid in February, which we're super stoked about. But it's led Janelle and I both to that point of, well, how do we balance this? I mean, it's easier for me, obviously, because I'm clearly working from home now. But, with her, she's a nurse, and there's no such thing as work-life balance in nursing. There's no such thing as flexibility. It's you work, A or B holiday schedule. You work X number of weekends, and your shifts are 12 hours plus, plus, plus. And one of the things that we're trying to think through is, well, there's no daycare on earth that allows you to drop off at 5 a.m. and pick up at 9 p.m. When I travel. So we'll have to talk.
Definitely. We've done every model that there is, we've done. So we could talk another time about that.
I love it. Brian, let's pivot to you. So you were hanging out in Baltimore, eating crab cakes and drinking Natty Boh, and then Millie and TecVeris. Talk us through it.
Well, I mean, after meeting Millie and, just kind of touching back to it, because I think this really is important. I was taking care of a grandfather, World War II vet, greatest generation, put everything into his family, and he was becoming ill. And Millie and I we decided to remodel a house ourselves while I was working as an engineer at Johns Hopkins, building healthcare optimization systems for OR surgical centers. And Millie was in the Laureate and the ad.com high tech rollout. We were remodeling a home ourselves, and I was doing elder care. And I worked for a lot of global IT consultancies, and it was, I was sometimes accused of going native. I was accused of falling in love with my clients, and it was always, was there that 1% difference in margin contribution, or was somebody on the bench too long, or can you put this person in even though they're not a fit? And, I wanted to work differently. And so we started TecVeris, and we really we're lucky. We had a lot of in our networks, really top C-level, SVP level architects, women who were, chief product officer material that needed to take care of their teenagers or their elder care. And what we found was when we started, that was our thesis, and it wasn't a magical thing. We were trying to figure out a way to survive and pay our bills. And what we found was there was a lot of untapped value because, if you're an executive and you're a mom or you're, a dad and you're taking care of elderly parents, you don't have time to waste. And you might actually, and we found this, our people at 20% capacity were outperforming and providing thought leadership because we just had to work efficiently. That meant being on my laptop on a flight, getting off the Amtrak at 10 o'clock at night, running my kids to their things in the morning, and then being ready for the client with what I had ready. And, I follow you, Adam, and, this is what it's about. And people work better. And, we haven't looked back. And when we became part of the Scaled Agile community, we really grew our business. We were building our own ways of scaling. And I spent a lot of time, and I'm going to date myself here, in the GE running around. I was on the technology side, but we would process map the entire operations of businesses around the world. And, I had a few other stops in different businesses, but it was getting into the detailed flow charts and processes, harvesting all the data. I traveled around the world, and this was during the just-in-time, JIT, TQM, Lean, but they were really over engineering. And I built some of the first Six Sigma systems, even before it was Lean Six Sigma. And when I was at Safe Summit, I think in 2017, and I became an SBC, I think in 2015, I was in Inbar Oren's beta for the DevOps course. And I was there with people from Cisco and people from major brand name banks. And I think there's somebody that developed, a intelligence agency of the US. And we picked a value stream and we started doing the value stream with Inbar guiding us. And I was just like, oh my God, this is like a game changer. Why go through all that detail? If we could talk about value and outcomes. And so I just dove in. I poured into the Toyota Production Way, Womack and Jones, Karen Martin, and we started to apply that in our businesses. And it was that frustration of laying off people only to need those resources 6 months from now, or trying to book care for your elderly grandparent, and the left hand in the healthcare institution and insurances, they don't know what the right hand's doing. And when we think about value in our society, there's so much hidden value. There's so much just by connecting people. And that really led us, I want to say about 6 years ago, Devan joined us. And, we immediately started saying, let's figure out a way to take what we do in a value stream workshop and that engagement, but bottle that and remove all the frictions. And we were really proud to launch nVeris Value Stream Management and Mapping at last year's Nashville Summit, Global Summit. And we couldn't eat our lunch. We had such an outpouring. I was just on an APAC Safe webinar last night. And we have folks from Andrew Ricks, who presented last year, who came in our booth, loved the tool, and is using it with industrial customers for operational, and we're speeding up the process by really an order of magnitude. And so we're passionate about that. And I hope we get a chance to maybe just dive in and interact with the AI.
I think you're probably going to get some job applications out of this too, guys. I mean, the way that you're selling and the way that you're positioning, people are like, okay, well, time to go work for them. So I hope you're ready for that. But before
we've recently doubled down yet again on our development team, and
that's great.
And so yeah,
is that where you come in, Devan?
That's where I come in.
Let's hear about it. How did you join these folks on this journey?
So I started working with TecVeris back in, I think it was 2018, 2017. And it was, that exact story they're talking about. I had just stopped working for a startup in the drone UAV space and wanted something a little more flexible, something where I could work and live in the mountains and ski. And I found that through TecVeris. So started off as a solution architect, managing Jira rollouts for clients. And then when we started to do in-house product development, was able to, dust off my engineering skills and start building some great products.
That's what it's all about, man. So what's the coolest drone you've ever worked on?
So, I worked on writing the control laws. So I didn't actually write the drone. I didn't actually build the drone. So, I worked on a lot of, circuit boards and figuring out how to make them process all the data super efficiently and blend that with the control inputs from a user in a way that was like really simple and easy to understand.
I mean, they are easy to fly. I mean, so we have a side business that's power washing, and for that crew, we're in the process right now of buying a power washing drone so we can go after like business washing, like water towers and cell towers and things like that. And dude, that thing is so cool, and it's so easy to fly, and you can lose yourself for a lot of hours in it.
Yeah, so when we got started with them, they weren't easy to fly. It was coming out of the hobbyist days where everything was, kind of DIY, and bringing it into those professional contexts took a lot of work.
Yeah, but and I'll tell you, I mean, I think my first drone for a TV show I had a lot of years ago, we bought one of the very first DJI products, but it was pretty much build it yourself. There wasn't such a thing as an all-in-one drone kit that has the remote, that has the video. I remember, we built it, and then I had to go buy a monitor, and I had to go strap a GoPro to it, and it was this complicated thing. And you can fast forward to where things are now. It's simple, smooth, and integrated. So hats off to you, Devan. I'm going to give you a lot of credit for that.
Well, thank you.
Today's episode is brought to you by the 2024 Safe Summit, Washington, D.C. From October 14th to the 17th, the summit will be the place to get inspired. Learn from others about their challenges and successes. Build connections. Spend quality time with friends and colleagues. And have fun. Register now at safesummit.com. Now, back to the show.
Brian, you touched on it. We know top level about TecVeris, but I want to learn more about nVeris, and I want to dive into a demo, right? So, you alluded to, kind of demoing last year at Safe Summit. And there was a lot of good impact, or a lot of good result. And I've seen it, and I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's really cool. Do you want to just give us the quick elevator pitch, and then we can kind of dive into a live demo?
Yeah. So Devan will screen share, and what I want to say is you're going to see the features, and you've seen them certainly, Adam. People really step back from. First, we wanted to make it a game-like experience. We wanted it to be low stakes, low cost, a way for people to come together to see a process really quickly. So with an industrial client, it takes 10 seconds to create your map with the AI, and we'll show that in a second.
This is AI-powered value stream mapping. You can go from a sentence or a few sentences to having a pretty darn good value stream in a matter of a second or two.
And it gives people who think of people that come from different functions, right? Here's really the premise. The bottom line is when you think about trying to explain value stream mapping workshops to people who are in different functions, and then they think about, okay, you might have a sponsor and we're doing an implementation and we talk about the benefits of it. To me, it was like trying to explain to somebody who's skeptical what it feels like to experience PI planning for the first time. You can't do it. You can't describe the energy and the collaboration. And then with that resistance that we always had to overcome to schedule these workshops traditionally, we almost had 100% positive feedback after doing it. And that to me presented this real gap. How can we address that gray area between, well, I don't want to involve my peers. I don't know about scoring our process again, and it's all about getting different functions to come together and cooperate. So we do that with nVeris. It takes seconds, and you can create any n number of future states and see the opportunity value of that in seconds. So the cost of collaboration is reduced to a fraction.
One of the things I think is really cool about it too, and how it supplements and supports that workshop, is it takes the conversation away from the nuance of how I think it works versus how you think it works. And, we debate the color of, whatever. I mean, I've been in these workshops before where people can't even tell you what it is, the value that they deliver to the customer. I mean, they can't articulate it. So I think the cool thing about the tool is that it helps us overcome a lot of those hangups very quickly, so we can get exactly to the point that you're talking about, which is what's the opportunity value of the future state? What do we want the future to look like? It gets through that early contention and hand wringing of how do we operate? Why do we operate that way? This is my thing and this is your thing, and focuses us on what's most important, which is optimizing value delivery.
I think too, just to jump in real quickly too, you could spend hours figuring out the steps with the team, and the AI really accelerates that process as well. So you certainly can change the steps, modify the steps, move them around, right? But instead of spending 4 hours debating what the steps are, which is the way a lot of the workshops start, because you have to start somewhere, it really accelerates that extensively.
And we've built the product and the user experience around this concept of aha moments, the moments that bring people together and foster that collaboration. So for a lot of people, when they see their value stream mapped out end to end, that's the first time they've ever seen this in their lives. And, that's an aha moment that brings people together whenever they can look at the score and see how long this process actually takes to go from end to end. That's another aha moment. And future states and seeing what could become with a little process innovation is another aha moment. So we keep those in mind at every step of the process.
Devan, I think you've just given me an aha moment. Have you all ever actually demonstrated this tool, like in an implementing safe class at the end of value stream mapping?
Yeah, we do.
We're doing an exemplar in Berlin in a week and a half. And let's talk. I would love to have you guys pop in and do a 5-minute demo at the end of that value stream and identification workshop, just to show how easy it can be. I mean, I think it's fantastic, and we're about to show it to everybody, but it's that impactful, right? I mean, just to go through the activities Millie described and do that hard work and experience those conversations and the sticking points, and then to see how quickly the AI can accelerate those conversations to get to something meaningful. I think we should be showing that in every class.
Yeah, we would love that opportunity, and we think it would give an aha moment to the class, to the concept of leading into let's do the value stream right now.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about that, because I definitely would like to try to pull you into that Berlin group and see how we can. Maybe there's a video. I don't know what it is, but I would love to be able to show what you're about to show everybody, to everyone that experiences that workshop. So, do we want to pivot into the demo? Do we want to start showing what this cool tech is that we've been discussing?
Yeah, and I think Devan maybe can grab screen share and I've been reading the Gene Kim book, on wiring the organization, right? And when they think of the metaphor of the place that they're building and they're working on, the painting and the moving the furniture around and, for a social cause, it's like I actually want to reach back out to Gene and be like, wait, is this really happening? How can we help, right? So, what's something near and dear to your heart, Adam? Give us some kind of because this isn't just about profit. Certainly in the commercial world, this will help profit. It'll help people work better, right? But maybe there's a cause or some recent industry that's near and dear to your heart that you would like us to describe their operational value stream. We'll just go from there.
Power washing business, maybe?
No, I've got a better one, Millie. So my wife and I, like I mentioned, we're having a child in February. We lost a little girl almost 3 years ago. And one of the organizations that we've really leaned into, and one of the things we've learned from Dean a lot of years ago, is the importance of giving, and how it's most important to give when you feel like you have nothing to give. So when we were at our lowest point following the loss of that child, we leaned into March of Dimes, because we realized that, for all the pain we were feeling, there was people that were also feeling that pain and more. So we do a lot with March of Dimes to try and take care of mothers and babies that, are having super hard times. So let's do March of Dimes. Let's talk about mapping the value stream for the March of Dimes organization, if we can do that. Is that too hard, Brian? He says,
I think that'll do well.
Not because we have killer tech. The chef's tasting event that's coming to Raleigh in November 1st. Scaled Agile is a big sponsor. My power washing company is a sponsor. But it's a pretty cool event where we support the moms and the babies and eat good food. So March of Dimes, Chef's Table, check it out.
Yeah, so what I did there was just describe the value stream. I said March of Dimes organization value stream to deliver life-changing medications to needy families. Does that sound accurate?
I mean, that's a great place to start.
Okay, and the output there would be supported family.
Yeah, so it would be covered medical expenses for needy families.
Yeah. So really, really quickly, with just those two, we can send that off to the AI, and using all of its training data, it'll come back and say, "Hey, here's a template for your value stream." So a little lay of the land. This right here represents the trigger, or what the start factor of the value stream is, and each one of these cards represents a step in that value stream process. So, eligibility screening, needs assessment, all the way till the end, where we look at that covered medical expense. And, down here, you can chat with the AI if you want to make improvements, and the AI will, suggest some steps or things that you might want to add based on the industry or the context that you've put in.
It's super cool. So, I mean, obviously, then you could create other value streams that support this for things like fundraising, for things like administration, for things maybe not medications, but medical expenses.
Exactly.
And does it have the ability to learn? So like once we create this value stream, if we wanted to create something else that was related, can it learn from one another?
So over time, I think the context improves. The more your profile does it, the more it understands what you need to do.
And we can jump out a little later. We'll go into this one, but we could show like a fully baked where you could see. So Adam, what we've learned is by mistakes, you don't want to bite off more than one group at a time. So a large enterprise will have, just like you said, it'll have fundraising and driving campaigns. It'll have, receiving those funds and then finding out who their needy families are and how to disperse that. You can create those segments of different operational value streams and then aggregate them by linking them and seeing what the total throughput is of all the metrics that you've captured for each segment. And then you can go down vertically and say, well, what are the development and supporting value streams that contribute to these operational value streams? And you could roll that all into a collection or a group folder, and you could actually see the aggregated total improvements, the economic value of those improvements, the changes in the expected flow time for each of the value streams. If you improve like the CNA or you reduce the wait time, which is usually the easiest one, just by getting people to come together, the obvious ones.
I mean, this feels like it would be a business architect's best friend, because you could easily, you could go as granular as you like or as macro as you like, and then you can build out that whole suite of understanding. And then, as you said, measure everything, right? And that's the challenge that a lot of folks have, is they'll do this work, and then somebody will ask, well, what's the benefit? And they'll say, oh, faster time to market, better quality. Okay, cool. Like, where's the data? Like, show me exactly how we're faster to market. Like, what were we? What are we? And I think it's not that people don't want to do that. I think a lot of the times they don't know how to measure it. They don't have access to data to the data they need to measure it. And if they can really show those things in a more automated fashion, I think that's so cool.
And I'll add too, the nVeris can be used with in-person workshops, remote workshops. A single individual can use it alone just to sort of play around with the value streams. And Devan will probably show some of the collaboration features. And what we wanted to focus on was having a platform that best supported that collaboration and that discussion. That's where the value is. And so it's very highly interactive, highly collaborative, and less time just deciding what all of these steps are.
So, Millie, out of curiosity, what markets are you most active in right now? In what market segments, what industries?
We've been around for a while, it's a mix between the services and nVeris as a platform, but we've really been in everything from ed tech, ad tech, med tech. We do a fair amount in industrial as well, which is a bit can be a little bit different than some of the pure technology product companies. We also have a number of customers in media, and then also in more recent years, we've done some work with state, local, and federal government.
As you start looking at federal government and those things, I mean, do you have the ability to like protect compartmentalized information? I mean, have you gone through some of those security reviews, or is that something that's on the roadmap?
Yeah, I'll take that one. And it came up yesterday. So our architecture we're built in AWS, and we built this from the ground up. And really, with Devan's leadership, it's an extensible modular architecture. So we have really good ability to do multi-region, multi-zone. So it's just a matter, it's in our roadmap. We've been multi-region. So sovereign data, rules or locking down an environment, say within a country. Those are all things that we can do pretty. We're set up for it. I don't want to say it's going to be easy, but those are the next things that we have to focus on in our roadmap.
That's fantastic.
And certainly FedRAMP. We've got some people out there that have seen this, and they're eager to use it, because you just think about policy and mission and connecting different silos. Getting FedRAMP certified is going to be a big push for us.
Oh, that's huge. And so I was thinking of things too, like I know Army just announced in March, they're completely changing how they work. Their first focus is the executive office enterprise. What is it? I know this acronym. At any rate, it's the Army Executive Office. It's their business information system modernization initiative. So if you think about all of the core processes that run Army from an executive perspective, I just think like something like this could literally save years off of that modernization timeline. Just to
absolutely
get started. And I think the risk is there's a lot of folks in government that are there's this massive wave of retirement happening. And with that retirement goes the knowledge. And if there was a way to quickly harvest and document that knowledge or validate, that reduces risk for all of us. So I think FedRAMP, I think that's a great thing. And if I had to give you a $5 investment, that's where I would hope it would go.
Yeah, it's coming, and we have new features they're going to be showcasing at Summit this year. We're a large solution sponsor, and we're going to have a large federal audience there. But Adam, you're really honing in. Like, our mission with this was to democratize value stream management, to reduce the friction. So as Millie mentioned, we took this in the AI to a major global industrial company. I mean, they build military equipment, and they had a visual that they could react to. And their head of manufacturing operations, after chatting with the AI for 10 seconds, it generated a map. He's like, how does it know that? And by 15 minutes, when they all swarmed on their mobile devices, they had the map kind of where they wanted it. And I'd say by 30 minutes, they were into the deep discussions on their bottlenecks. And just to give a quick example, we were in the APAC webinar last night, with Gerald Caden and Belinda T. And, Andrew Ricks was giving an example of, once they saw the visual, they realized they had 19 steps to approve an acquisition. Leadership could react to it. It was like, so quickly generating the map, just sort of getting that back of the envelope visual or the bar napkin in 10 seconds. It's people just don't have a way to easily connect those things. And us doing the value, and if we have time, it'd be great, Devan, if just click in maybe to some of the existing value streams in future states, because your point, Adam, about we wanted to make the value relative, not precise. So we're not harvesting and mining how many check-ins you did per week and asking that question. We're asking the group of collaborators to do a rapid score so they could relatively see their current state and compare that to trending over time very quickly, or what we found to be even the best way to do this is don't even do scoring of current state. Don't put people into they don't know value stream. They're not there thinking lean yet, and then ask them to measure each other and measure their steps in the process. Instead, we say, let's take something 1, 2, or 3 years out in the future. And that sort of gets everybody thinking creatively. And then they can say, well, what would the measurement of that be? And then after they've done that end to end, and you might have saw there was a field like what's your operational cost, how many people or what's your demand rates, then you can start to factor that by a 10% improvement in your flow time. Well, that equals, a $1 million opportunity value. And it lets you quickly do that in a very game-like, low-stakes space.
Yeah, and, with our mission to democratize value streams, because the industry giants, the big tech companies, they're already thinking this way. So how do we bring that type of thinking to everyone? So here we got our first aha moment. Someone can see the process end to end. And, next, we want to deliver the next aha moment, which is like, how long does this actually take to happen? So now that I'll officially generate the value stream, we just ask at a high level, how long does it take from start to finish? So, maybe it takes the March of Dimes, 180 days before they can deliver that medication to a family. And, a vast majority of that time is probably spent waiting in queue, not actively working. And, there's a lot of steps. So realistically, there's a lot of mistakes along the way. And this process probably has to, go back and get reworked a lot of times. So we can finish the configuration. This is the second aha moment, which is delivering all the metrics to the team and showing them in one place. So what do we have up here in the top bar? We have the flow time, which they gave us, but we've computed out the wait time, the processing time, and flow efficiencies. But what we've also done is give them a metric called expected flow time, which basically factors all the numbers that they put in and gives a realistic approximation for how long their process truly takes in the real world. And from that number, we can kind of, vectorize everything and normalize the whole value stream and look at, where a good target might be for your improvement and then suggest ways on how to get there. It's the classic idea of, it's easy to do a thing once, but building the process to do it right is where the big companies and the major tech companies are thriving. So how do we get you from a culture of just getting things done to a culture of process innovation being at the core? And so there's a couple ways that we do that immediately once you get in. So we set a target. Where do you want to be? And we can also set that target in terms of your opportunity value. So realistically, say they had a $20 million budget. And that's, the way the March of Dimes works. From that $20 million budget, we can compute what the opportunity value of that change would be, and how speeding up their processes and increasing their throughput, like how does that actually relate to real world value and real world returns? And so that's how we help get over those barriers of entry, which are expensive consultants historically, expensive instrumentation with really precise tools, large unproductive meetings. We've tried to chip that all away and package it up into something that's really quick and simple to onboard, and gets everybody collaborating really quickly, and get them generating ideas on how we can actually improve.
Yeah, and Devan, just in this quick example with something we thought of quickly, I mean, you hit right on the most important thing to them, right? So it's how quick they're able to serve the people that they seek to serve, the moms and the babies. It all goes back to the efficiency of how donor dollars are used. So the more of a dollar, the more cents of every dollar, the greater percentage of every dollar that we spend doing operational things dilutes how much of that dollar gets to the people that we intend to get it to. So that's what organizations like that are always trying to optimize for. How can we give more of every dollar that we take in to the people who it's intended to go to. So we're not doing things on operations. The more efficient we can be, the more we can flow value directly to those end people. So, I mean, even again, just to your point, this drives the conversation in the right direction to the things that matter and to the levers that we need to pull to do the things that are most important to us. So, I mean, I think we did great here, guys. I mean, I think everyone's going to be a little bit curious. I think they're going to be curious about working for TecVeris. I think they're going to be curious about learning more about nVeris. And if they want to do that, aside from Safe Summit this year in DC, where else can they go to check out either a demo or to learn more about what it is that you all do?
Yeah, great question. So you can go to nVeris.com, and then Adam, we'll share a QR code that lets people sign up for an extended trial. And that's out through the end of October. So if somebody signs up now from that, that will give them a really fully functioning account and to get started.
Excellent. So we'll make sure that all of that is included in the show notes. We'll make sure we have all of the links and links to all of your bios so people can learn more about the people behind the brand. So to close out, are there any closing words that you have, Millie? Anything that you want to offer, or Brian or Devan?
We just appreciate the time to be here today. We welcome people to check us out, like Brian said, at nVeris.com. You can sign up for an Explorer account or that Advisor account, which will give you some a lot of additional features until the end of October. If you're coming to Summit this year, come see us in our booth. And you can also check out TecVeris at TecVeris.com. So we're really excited to be able to have this conversation with you today. Brian, anything that you wanted to add, or Devan?
I just say thanks, Adam. Really great. We always love talking with the community and about organizing and aligning to improve value.
I'll second that. It's been great talking, and good to show off and give you the nickel tour of the product. I wish we had more time to dive into all the nitty gritty features that deliver more of those aha moments, but maybe we'll get to that on the next one.
I want to thank you all, because I what's most valuable to me, and I think to our listeners about these podcasts, is getting to know the people, right? Because we could have sat here and we could have talked for an hour about TecVeris and nVeris, but I think what people are really going to remember from this is just the warm and good people that you are. And that's what's going to drive interest, and that's what's going to drive people to go check things out, is knowing who you are, your why, the why that's so relatable to so many of us in this industry, and just that you're good people. And I just want to thank you for being yourselves and just showcasing exactly who you are. So thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Adam.
All right. Well, have a great day, everybody. Until next time, we'll see ya. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you like what you hear, please refer us to your friends and colleagues and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Adam Mattis. See you next time.